Welcome back to the Clouds. I am Doe. With me is Frodan and Khroen as usual. Hopefully, you can see us. We're not looking like Max Headroom recreations. Nobody knows who that is. Anyway, we're going into game number 3. Do you know who Max Headroom is, Frodan?
No, I was kind of chuckling at the glitch that happened, so I
I'm not even
apologize.
going to ask you,
So
Khroen.
Yeah, you already know. I
didn't understand that reference.
Never mind. Google it. Or don't. Whatever. We're going to watch some Teamfight Tactics. It's going to be great. It's going into game number 3. Let's look at the standings overall. We had some pretty big shifts. We had Spencer with the biggest shift possible, going from an 8th in the first game to a 1st in the second game. That is scored him a top 4 finish for now, but we still have 3 games to go. Khroen, where do you think we're at with this lobby? Who should we really be watching for going into game 3?
Honestly, I'm a little bit surprised, but pleasantly surprised that KC is actually in the top right now, 14 points. They're obviously a strong player, but I thought we might see some more out of, Numano, Grand Vice. Obviously, Grand Vice is still in second, but KC really impressing so far, and that's who I'm going to want to keep my eye on specifically. Spencer as well, volatile start to the day, an 8th into a 1st, but the 1st must be a confidence booster for him moving forward.
Yeah, Frodan, it's really players like I like Hobos, unfortunately, Shuram, who have had those lower finishes that really kind of need to pick things up. But even they are only a couple points behind Robin Songs and Numano.
Yeah, it's a little bit behind, but there's still a lot more games, and we've seen yesterday some pretty big comebacks. So I'm excited to see game 3.
That's right. Well, Khroen and I are going to take this one. We will catch back up with Frodan, and it is all tears and gloves start for the carousel. All right. Interesting. You put that together, it makes a pretty good item. In isolation, if you get one of the tiers, I think you might be a little bit sad, Khroen. What do you think about the tier start? I do it because I love playing mages, but I know aside from that, it's not a popular first item off the first carousel.
You can get away with a tier start if you, I think, specifically get a glove or a cloak. A lot of people do like it. It's kind of fitting into their items I want to slam in the early game. A Chalice Hodge, maybe a bit less so, but definitely Chalice being a good one that can flex into many different comps. It's actually, I was noticing, it's an item that GV8 specifically likes slamming in the early game. And something I noticed for the past 2 games from GV8 as well, he really plays around the 2-cost chosen. Whichever 2-cost chosen that he finds, thinks that it can make it into a strong board, he will pick it up. And, a bit disappointing last game. I think maybe if that misplay didn't happen and he actually had 6 Elderwood on the board when he didn't, maybe could have gotten a bit farther. But either way, I think still generally GV8 plays that style super well.
Yeah, for sure. We see Numano picking up the Diana. It really seems like, as far as a trait to just include in pretty much every comp, Spirit is the way to go with that. We know it's good because it's getting nerfed in the next patch, according to some of the previews of the notes that have been coming out. But Diana too early. All right. Probably going to be happy with that, I would say. The chance for a Nidalee too as well. So honestly, at this point in the game, I feel like a lot of times I'm just kind of happy picking up 2 stars regardless or if they share any synergies or not,
Yeah, I don't know if Numano would want to commit to this Nidalee, even if gold, which gold will be dropped here. I'm not sure he'll buy it because it doesn't leave the option over to give the Infinity Edge potential to Diana. We'll end up picking it up regardless, so perhaps isn't going to go the Diana reroll route. And notably, Numano has rerolled both games so far in the finals. The past couple of days hasn't really relied on that, is generally pretty flexible. But today so far that has been the trend. Numano is going to leave some options open here, not slam any items at least immediately, but that is a 4th Diana and that is a Nico's help that is presented, so you gotta be thinking about that option if you are Numano.
Yeah, a little bit. This is always one of the openings I like the least when I'm playing, where you get, Nico's is nice, but you'd really rather have the gold right now because you don't really have the opportunity a lot of times, especially find a couple early, early 2 stars to get to that level 4. And so you feel like you're kind of committing to a loss streak early on when you get this sort of like item combination out of the neutral rounds.
Yeah, definitely. And loss streak is going to be had here, at least the start of one for Numano, as Shuram on the other side did make a Chalice and actually has another tier, which maybe is a little bit disappointing. Perhaps you would want some direction in another component because, again, you might just want to make that into another chalice. It's probably the best in slot item, but two chalices, while it can be good early if you play very, very flexibly, some
Yeah.
players do struggle with having their options being too open, and they would rather some direction at that point in the game.
You put a couple chalices on a Nidalee, not a Nidalee, on a Yuumi. That's been pretty popular. We saw one game with 8 chalices across 3 Nidalees, so it's
Yep.
definitely something people are thinking about. Does get offered the Enlightened Chosen Fiora,
Yeah.
but at this point, deciding not to pick that up seems like he's a little bit committed to the Dianas, also picking up Warlords as well. So, like you mentioned, like in the rerolls, and he's kind of setting himself up to do a number of those, except for the Fiora one at least.
Yeah, I know we've had the conversation about Fiora the past couple of days and liking
Yeah.
the enlightened one over the duelist one. If you are going to commit to a chosen, you can not only utilize it for the duelist composition with 3-starring both Yasuo and Fiora, but you can
hmm
also use it just to give you a strong board, level on pace, and propel you into that level 7, maybe even level 8 territory before you really got to worry about being too low on HP.
Right.
KC here doing a bit of scouting around and seeing relatively strong boards across most players. A couple of players don't have Chosens, but KC rocking the Vanguard Chosen Garen for now.
Yeah, I mean he's got damage in the form of the Kindred as well, so this seems like just a strong, solid board. He's one of the 3 players still at 100 HP. That Wukong, chosen Wukong with the Hand of Justice looks a little bit scary, but an early Kindred like this just does so much damage that a lot of times you can just kind of like have that carry work if you don't get
Yeah.
it by a random Nidalee Spear. That said, I said we should be worried about the Wukong, and this is why. He
Yeah.
stood there. He did a lot of damage. He took a lot of damage, and that will be no 100 HP streak remaining for KC.
That is yet another Wukong committal from Bert. Did that in game number 1 as well. Rerolled it to
Yeah.
a tier 3 in game 2. Actually rerolled as well, but it was centered around the Nasus instead. So really, really sticking true to the playstyle. And I guess you kind of want to go for what is most comfortable to you in a tournament format like this. You're gonna
hmm
know who's coming into today, what their trends are, and you're going to solidify like 1 or maybe 2 play styles in terms of comps that you want to play. And it seems though Reroll is popular with at least Numano and Bert for the time being.
Right. So Chain Vest pickup for KC. He's going to be able to make a GA with that if he wants to. I want to look around at some of the other boards really quick just to get a quick overview. We're going to look at I Like Hobos to see what he's up to. Warlord, a little bit of Vanguard chosen as well. Oh, and it's a Magnetic Remover
Yeah,
and a tier out of the early Lantern. Let's keep
more
doing some quick
tiers.
scouting real quick here. Yeah, more tiers, right? Bertosaurus is going for that Wukong like we talked about. Grand Vice, meanwhile, did find the Spirit Diana chosen. So
Okay.
that may be a lane to choose right now. We'll see if he
Yeah.
decides to go with that. Finally,
Yeah.
Spencer is no view for Spencer. Okay, interesting. Thought we had one for him. We don't have one for sure but Spencer, I thought we did. Either way, let's go back and let's actually watch Grand Vice after this round for KC versus Robin songs.
Sure, yeah,
Watch this one first.
definitely interested in checking out GV8s after that, seeing as they
Yeah.
play very well in the early game, but it did drop a little bit low so far. For Robin Songs, though, that we see here, has a death cap and a tier on a Teemo too. That is pretty strong at this point in the game. Garen says, nope, I will still spin to win, however, and takes out Robin Songs. Still 2 players, though, at 100 HP. Hopefully they don't run into each other for one of their 6 for the last round leading up into Krugs.
Yeah, that Sunfire Cape doing a lot of work. Let's check out Grand Vice. We mentioned he just picked
Oh,
up the
yeah.
Diana. Now Grand Vice, as we mentioned earlier, not a player that does a whole lot of re-rolling, at least in this weekend so
Yeah.
far. He's generally tried to go for a faster leveling to strong board style. So I really am curious how he's going to play this out because it's good, and I'm sure he knows how to play this. But I would just be surprised to see him take it.
Definitely. I suppose if the option is presented to you, much like last game with Spencer and that Zed, you kind of
hmm
got to recognize that it's going to be the highest chance thing to do here to get that victory. And while GV8, not only with this tournament, but I think just in general over the majority of his TFT career, has strayed away from rerolling, it looks a bit too good to pass up here, especially already having 4 spirits,
hmm
5 Dianas, even before Krugs. The belt won't
Oh,
really see any use here. I don't think that'll slam the Trap Claw just takes the loss here, which is unfortunate. Can't get up to that 3-win streak before the Krugs is about to emote there. Thinks like emoting, but decides against it.
Yeah, you don't want to clue your opponent in on your mental status, especially if it's a negative one. So yeah, good move there by Grand Vice to keep his emotions hidden from his opponent. Very
Definitely.
smooth. We've got Spencer's view now, and I believe we just saw Spencer win that one against Grand Vice. He is going with that duelist chosen Fiora, which has been very strong. Got 2 more Fioras on the bench, 2 more Yasuos on the bench as well, so it looks like it might be a reroll for him as well. Yeah, decent items for the Yasuo too.
Yeah, Deathblade, pretty solid. Hodge, you might want a defensive item here, although some players would say, the Hodge 50-50 roll for it to be healing is enough defense until I eventually get my Yone later, which with a 2 exile buff will be some good built-in lifesteal there. Potential of a Zeke's, I don't think we'll see a Warmogs there. I know we did see a Warmogs on a Fiora earlier on this weekend from Numano, but think it's likely it will be a Zeke's. And even if you don't want to keep the item there permanently, there is the magnetic remover that all the players do have in this game. And we actually see it used there. I'm not sure what board it was, but it was on a Teemo. So players are already putting it to good use.
And Teemo definitely one of those champions too, where you might want to get the items off after the early game, but you might want to keep the champion in. It is going to be a Zeke's onto the Fiora, like we kind of predicted. I agree with the Warmogs. Warmogs is weirdly one of the best defensive items for exiles because it just gives him that bigger shield, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So it is a very good defensive item, but just generally not something you see slammed in this meta really at all, unless it's maybe like a Nunu or something. Oh, that Yasuo was so close, but the Nidalee managed to win it for Bertosaurus.
That's actually huge because it makes Spencer have to sell 1 Fiora just to make 50 gold. If you won, obviously you get to keep it because you get the +1 gold for winning and get to maintain that streak. But that loss actually has huge implications for Spencer's econ and power spike windows there.
Wow, did you see Shuram just picked up a Callista too? That is early for a Callista too. So we'll have to see if we can get a glimpse of his board through someone else. But I want to jump back over to I Like Hobos right now. He's the only player remaining with 100 HP. So let's see how his board is going. It is going to be Warlord, still rocking that Vanguard chosen Garen, but he is starting to get that Katarina online with the Hand of Justice, and perhaps the Hextech Gunblade soon if he can find a sword.
Yeah, I was going to be looking for that off of the next carousel, but probably going to be last pick, seeing as they are still 100 HP remaining. Now, this is really good for LA Kobos because they have had quite the unfortunate start to the day. Is in the last in terms of points, only at 5 right now. So getting a win here is very much needed. Maybe not a win, but at least a top 3. Top 2 finish preferably. A lot of players getting upgrades, and you're talking about that Callista too. I think it's just off of the back of a lot of players prioritizing rolling down at 3-2, maybe not rolling down to 0, but still rolling to like that 20 or 30 gold margin there.
Debating on whether or not he wants to give up Keeper and put in the Akali for Assassin. And I think that's a tough choice because the Keeper buff is nice, but you do have to take the cannon out if you're going to put the Akali in because you don't want to get 2 ninjas on your board. He decides to opt with Keeper, but he's not putting the Katarina in a place to benefit from both Keeper shields, so she's not quite as tanky as she could be. It's an interesting board for Hobos. What do you value more, Khroen, in this situation? Would you keep the Keepers or would you go for the Assassin?
I agree with the Keeper right now. I think the HP is going to oftentimes be more beneficial. Katarina is one of those units that will benefit from the Assassin buff, but not as much as some of the others. It is also awkward in terms of running that 2 ninjas. The ninjas aren't going to be the ones carrying. They're just going to be in there for their synergies, really. But I do like it, even if you're not getting both of these shields onto the Katarina there, because you want to optimize Katarina positioning in regards to the rest of the players' boards. With 1 Keeper shield there and the mana from Hodge, she will generally get an ulti off. And that's going to, decide the fight usually from there. Hobos did unfortunately lose that round, however. Maybe the Keeper shields would have made a difference. It is possible. It is grabbing another tier here, though. So 3 tiers in total that Hobos will have. Maybe wants to just slam a blue buff because a Ludens or a Redemption could have already been made. But yet another tier, however. I mean, it was last pick, so the pickings were kind of slim there.
Is he going Fabled? I mean, I know that's crazy talk, but he did just finish the Nico too. He's got he's got a Nautilus on the bench. Like, is he planning on pivoting away? Because keep in mind, he has a Vanguard chosen here.
Yeah.
And so Vanguard chosen works really well with the Nico Fable build. And sure enough, he builds the blue buff. And this is something we haven't seen for a while. I think I'm trying to remember if we've seen really anyone run it in the tournament. He doesn't have Fabled yet, so this Nico is going to be even weaker. But if he finds a Cho'Gath, he could be online with that once he puts the Nautilus in. But I don't know, Khroen. I just have not been a big fan of the Fabled Nico build since it came out. I think she's just a little bit too low on damage, even if he is getting this round win here.
Yeah, this round win, I think, is a big reason why Hobos is opting for this Nico. A Nico 2 is going to be stronger than a Katarina 1 at this point.
That's true.
You have the Hodge and the blue buff. By no means do I think this transition means it's committal for the rest of the game. It could be. We do have the Vanguard chosen Garen, but that's not really a chosen that you'd want to take into the end game with a Vanguard Mystic Fabled composition. I think Hobos is very much open to many decisions right now, many compositions, and it does not, again, have to be that Vanguard here.
Yeah. Playing flexibly. So right now, I want to jump over to Numano's board. He's the only player with a win streak right now, doing it off the back of that Spirit chosen Teemo. Has the Vi up front, the Diana in the back. Just good items on this Teemo in general to power up the Nidalee and the Janna.
Yeah.
And oh boy, but here comes the Bonky Kong.
Double Hodge Runans, not the typical build, I suppose, but
No.
items that do work on him great nonetheless. Gonna be blinded by Teemo so much, though. And Bert's still 2 Wukongs away at Wolves from getting that 3-star, so a little bit slow in pacing to where they would like to be. Numano continuing that win streak, and that's huge. The Teemo being the kind of damage and also support carrying the Chalice and the Zeeks is really, really strong at this point in the game.
Right. I just got to talk about Bertosaurus's board a little bit more. I think at this point you give up, right? You look for a way to pivot out of this because you don't have optimal items on the Wukong anyway. Those items could be much better served on something else, and you still haven't hit that Wukong 3. And even when you do, it might be a little bit too late for it to really be effective and preserve your HP. You're already down to 55, so I'm looking for a transition out of Bertosaurus with that one.
Yeah. I'd be curious to see Bertosaurus's perspective here, just to look at the board in a bit more depth to kind of go over that analysis, because I think you are onto something. I, however, also think that Bert is kind of, almost stuck in the Bonky Kong jail, I guess. Already committed, continuing to roll, and has hit the 3-star Wukong there. But I do want to briefly look at it from that potential. Bert had already spent a lot of gold looking for the Wukongs. Pivoting at this point would mean that you are behind everybody else in pacing with levels. You're already down to 55 HP. So I think I agree with Bert's decision to maintain it. I still, however, don't know if it's going to be strong enough. The double Hodge can work well, but by no means do I think it is best in slot. We'll have to see how strong Bert is at this point, which I think will be very strong. But when will it fall off, I guess, is the next question.
Well, against Shurom's board, at least, he's definitely looking strong. Shurom has a little bit of cultist action going. He's got the chosen Jarvan, but yet he's got a lot of items over on the Shyvana, or not the Shyvana, the oh my gosh, what's the name of that cultist sharpshooter?
Sivir?
Sivir, right. I don't know why I forgot that for a second, but on the Sivir. So the board didn't look the strongest for Shurom. We don't have his views, so we can't check that out. But I think if Bertosaurus runs into a lot of other of these boards, he's going to run into some problems too.
Yeah,
but needs to find something worth pivoting into before he pivots. Yeah,
definitely. Robin with the tier 2 Aurelion Soul, and with all that scouting, you can see that GV8 hit the Diana 3 as well. So that was worth committed to. Yeah, Robin and the 6 Elderwood 3 Mage already online.
Wow.
A lot of HP on a win streak, and Aurelion Soul too. And I do remember distinctly seeing a lot of people in trying to run this Elderwood A Soul composition seem to struggle to find sometimes even one Aurelion Soul, let alone 3 of them. Is maybe still going to fall this round? I don't know. The Xayah feathers fly, and they do come back with a vengeance. Xayah taking out the rest of Shrum's composition there. That Xayah hard carried, even only being tier 1.
I mean, Xayah helping out a lot with the Hand of Justice, but that Veigar, tier 2, you can't underestimate him as well. He nuked a couple people just by himself as well. So if you get that Veigar powered up, makes you strong. Let's see.
Most definitely.
Let's see what he finds here. I mean, you've got the Rage Blade on the Aurelion Soul, which is a little bit awkward, but
Yeah.
like you said, you just don't see a tier 2 Aurelion Soul at this point in the game that often in general.
Mhm.
So you might as well roll with it.
Yeah, it's okay to have a little bit of awkward items just because of how strong Robin's board is right now.
Yeah.
Is being very proactive in terms of repositioning as well. You obviously know as a player of this caliber, you cannot face the last 4 opponents you have faced, so you know what
Mhm.
specific 3 matchups that you're going to have in front of you. Robin Song's positioning very well for all of
Ooh.
them. That Aurelion Soul just tears up the whole enemy team there from Hobos.
Yep. Hopos takes a big shot from the Aurelion Soul, almost 7,500 damage from that unit in that particular round, and Robin finds himself pretty solidly in first place in the lobby right now. This is going to
Yeah.
probably keep going, and we'll see if he can improve it, because it will start to fall off, maybe towards the end of 4, early 5, unless he kind of gets some of those last little bits, like the Ornn, getting the Rakan. He actually only has a Xayah right now. He's using Jarvan as his other keeper.
Yeah.
So still some things he can do to improve it. Who would you like to take a look at this point?
I'm actually interested in checking back in with KC and
Okay.
seeing where they're at. Kind of middle of the pack HP,
Yeah.
57. Still rocking with the 4 Vanguards, actually. See what they want off the carousel. Don't exactly know their item state, but it looks like it's just going to be a Kindred carry, still rocking that Garen Chosen. So kind of just
Mhm.
playing strong board, still very open to a few different pivots here. I would like to be a bit healthier in Casey's position, though, to be that open and that flexible. Given that you are on a 3-loss streak, it seems as though your early game power has fallen off. And ooh, okay, interesting.
There
Actually,
we
that
go. Ooh.
Braum made its way into a Braum 2 with the rod. You don't really want that to happen. Not sure if that was intentional, and that's a okay sacrifice. But gonna be grabbing that Enlightened Morgana. The items for Talon are kind of there. You have Hodge, you have GA. So that's going to be decent enough. No Talons yet, however, though.
Yeah. So goes ahead and drops some items onto the Swain, and he's got
Ooh,
Siphoner 3 right now, so still missing that Vladimir, it looks like.
yeah.
Pretty interesting. I don't know about this
Maybe
board though. Yeah.
maybe it would even be better for a Siphoner Chosen instead of an Enlightened Chosen there.
Yeah.
As yeah, this board does look pretty weak from KC there. I mean, you do run into Numano, who also went level 8 and is on 10 gold, and that double chalice, that Zeke. So there's a lot of supportive items over there, and you've already found a Kale. And Kale is a comp that can work even with just a Kale 1. I think it was KC actually a couple of games ago who got into the top 4 with only a Kale 1 executioner composition.
Right. Now, you are level 8, so you can just keep searching for different chosens here, picking up maybe a step towards the Swain 2. 5% chances. I mean, early Swain 2 helps a lot.
Yeah.
All right, adds in Mystic and Adept with that.
I
Hmm.
think actually I was thinking about why Casey decided to put the Hodge onto the Morgana. Not really a great item there, but have to keep in mind there still is a magnetic remover, so could take it
Right.
off at any point in the game. Still, it looks like Casey's maybe a little bit lost here with just what decisions that they're making. I mean, the compositions are okay, but 4-loss streak, and it looks like probably a 5-loss streak here as the talent from Spencer. Spencer is low, but has kind of maybe stabilized a little bit, at least enough to deal with KC's board right now, and
Wow.
KC is gonna really start to be struggling here.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Spencer's board, that's like the board you want to be if you're KC, right? Because he had the talent on
Yeah.
the other side. His Morgana had Morello's. So this is a point where you're like, all right, maybe I just sell this Morgana and I look for a different chosen. But it's a tough situation to be in. This is one of my I think this is one of the most challenging positions a player can be in,
Of
where
course.
when he rolled, he was offered a lot of pieces of a lot of good things, but no firm direction. And so he opted to go with this chosen Morgana for now. And he's probably saying, if I can just find that talent, I can go up to 4 enlightened. I can maybe get something going. But then you think, well, I just played someone else who's doing the same thing and they're already ahead of me. So then do you sell the Morgana and you look for something else? So right now, if you're KC, your mind is just racing and you're second guessing
Mhm.
yourself. It's a rough spot to be in.
This is a position, actually, now that you mention it, Doa, that literally if any single TFT player in the world was in this position, you could go back, watch a VOD, and say, okay, I could have done that differently. I could have done that better. You can
Mhm.
always make improvements in situations like these because there's only so much time to do them. There's so many options presented to you. So there's always going to be room for improvement there. And Casey is trying to make these improvements. I mean, this is good. The GA is now on the Swain. There's Morellos
Okay.
and a Chalice now onto that
Okay.
Morgana. So this is looking better. Still, maybe though, not strong enough.
Wow, how many Morgana players are there in this lobby? That's a third one now in Shuram, but Shuram also has that Olaf. And
Oh,
Olaf down? Oh, Nidalee tries to run. But no, Set's gonna track her down. And Shuram, ooh, close to being eliminated, but still alive.
yeah.
But yeah, I think KC is in a rough spot right now.
Definitely not every single round matchup I think would have been a win, and even though that was a
Let's
win, it was a very narrow one. Yeah, I'm down to jump on over to Spencer over here with a
right.
pretty good enlightened composition. Morgana once again. Spencer is very low and it's still only level 7, however, so it's still going to be a struggle. No chosen either.
Well, here's the situation for Spencer that's kind of interesting is that he took eighth his first game, first his second game, and now he is definitely in contention for an eighth in his third game. So
Yeah.
it's been a roller coaster. His board does not look bad, but he needs to just win with like zero margin for error right now. Like you can't really take losses anymore. You can maybe live through one very close fight, but if he loses big time, he's out.
And this is a rough one. GV8 being one of the stronger players in the lobby on a win streak. But Diana 3 with 3 very solid items. This could be the end for Spencer and perhaps another eighth. Shram did fall as well, though. So maybe a
Mhm.
seventh.
Oh,
Or maybe the
Talon?
Talon just wins.
Talon? Yeah. I mean, that Diana kind of trolled. She just like walked
Yeah.
away from the stronger units to the other side of the board. So GV8, I'm sure not happy with his Diana performance there. I meant to say Diana kind of trolled. She just kind of avoided all the priority minions and just took a walk basically. But Spencer's hyped about that because that's going to keep him in the game.
Yeah. And you need to be in the game still. But I think it is only a matter of time before Spencer meets his match in terms of compositions.
Yeah.
If you somehow can get to level 8, find a good chosen, and find Morgana too, then sure, if you position well enough, you can theoretically win every single matchup. Probably, but Spencer,
Right.
however, is not in that position yet, and it will take a couple more rounds to get there. So Spencer has to be on top of the game, position perfectly into whoever he's going to face, and we see the scouting coming out there and repositioning happening.
Now, during all this, Shuram did get knocked out in eighth, so it's a fifth, eighth result so far for him. So gonna be
Yeah.
tough to hit that top four. Rough day for Shuram so far here today, but just concentrating again on Spencer. He's gonna try to live. Gets hit with that big Fable powered up Cho'Gath ultimate. That was a Cho'Gath 2 just hit by I Like Hobos before this round began. The Talon,
Yeah.
though, doing work. Kind of stuck a little bit on the Sejuani. Here comes a stun. The Talon can't do anything right now. Can they finish him off before he reactivates? GA comes in. The third shot for Nico just barely connects,
Oh,
but that's enough damage. Ooh, very close. And now Spencer can't lose a single other round if he wants to stay in the game.
yeah, that was the only margin of error that Spencer did have. Luckily, it's on stage 5 where the base damage is only 5, and
Yeah.
each unit alive will do 2 damage there up to a certain point where it gets higher. But, anyways, checking on in with I Like Hobos. And funnily enough, Doa, the Hobos did stick with the fabled Vanguard
Yeah.
Mystic line. I didn't think that it was a for sure commit, but the decision that Hobos made and is kind of riding or dying on that. The Nico items are kind of awkward. The Sejuani items are not optimal, but it's still be able to find some wins in this game. I struggle to really think it's a guaranteed top 4 from here, though.
Oh, it's definitely not guaranteed. Like I said, I'm not super high on this comp right now, but he certainly has put it together in a strong way, especially with hitting that early Ornn. And it's cool to I wanted to watch Hobo's view because it's cool to see someone playing a comp that we haven't really seen very much this
Yeah.
weekend yet. And it's very typical for I Like Hobos. Remember going into this, in 12 games, he played 9 very distinctly different compositions, and we're going to add a 10th one to that right now. So he is one of those players that just feels like he can play anything. And seeing him here today in the final lobby, I think it's hard to disagree with. He's probably the most flexible player we have in the top 8. But can his flexibility get him a top 4 in this game? I'm not so sure. Remains to be seen.
Not so sure either. It looks like, net a win here. The Vanguards just have so much armor, not only armor, but once again, reiterate, they do have magic resistance now as
Yeah.
well. It's
Uh-oh.
Set versus the world there, and Set is gonna
Uh-oh.
make it
Uh-oh.
happen, actually. He's the boss for a reason, though.
Dude, like Set is he's just so scary. When I saw him coming off the bench with his like DBZ hair ablaze, I'm like, oh no. Oh no, the Set one is gonna just style all over these Vanguards. And that's exactly what happened. So Hobo is in a situation where he can take like maybe, he can take like one close loss and stay alive, but he's definitely on the bubble as well. So we'll watch another round of his to see how it goes.
Yeah, Spencer fell actually in 7th place as well. So
Wow.
not an 8th, avoided that one, but still very, very swingy going from 8th to 1st back to 7th.
Yeah, I think 7th doesn't really feel that much better than an 8th. I think if you're
No.
Spencer's right now, you're like, what is going on with me today? It's either
Right.
the best or the worst. It was the best of times, it was the worst of
Yeah.
times.
I guess you
That big
gotta
Cho'Gath
take
ultimate.
some solace in not getting 8th, right? Whatever will preserve your mental is
That is
important.
true. That is true. TFT is a weird game where sometimes second place feels terrible if you know you messed something up in the 1v1, whereas
Yeah.
sometimes seventh place feels good if you know you played well enough to just avoid eighth. So it's a
Yeah.
strange game emotionally sometimes.
You take your wins where you can, and Ali Koba is going to be taking that not win, but win in the sense that you avoid KC getting 6th and now are up to the top 5 at least.
Right.
So that is a portion of a win. You get a new artifact as well, along with
Yeah.
the death cap that's going to be provided from this Nexus minion. So
And that one is I'm looking it up because I don't have them all memorized yet. Oh, it's the Anima Visage. Okay,
yeah,
so that's the one where the wearer regenerates 8% of their maximum health each second, and it also gives you HP and MR. So a good tanky item, which is pretty much perfect because most of his team is tanks. So
yeah.
I think you're going to be really happy to see that one drop if you are I Like Hobos.
Definitely. However, the tanks that are available to put it on are not going to be very high impact in deciding the fight. Cho'Gath perhaps will be. Maybe there's argument to put it on Yone in that regard as well, because Yone is going to be, if
Yeah,
he survives, a decent amount of damage.
I
Scouting
like Yone.
around, however, yeah. There's Anna Visage. Let's see. Ooh,
Ooh.
Magnetic Remover actually on the
Oh.
Nico, so then you can place more items. And it's
Anima
gonna be the
Visage on
Death
the
Cap
Nico, though. I was
instead.
gonna. Okay,
Yeah,
this
the
makes
Death
a little
Cap
bit more
for
sense.
sure.
Yeah.
And yet
Oh,
other
I
items do
like
go on the
this.
Yone. This is a good
Yeah.
decision from Malekobos. See if it works out though.
Well, great decision with the magnetic remover either way. But that Nico got blown up pretty fast, so he's gonna have to
Yeah.
count on that Yone to do work. And I don't know if he can count on that too much because that's a strong board for Numano. Hobo's out in it looks like fifth.
Yep.
That's right. So we're going to swap over to Numano's view to see if he can continue to survive here. Doing it for now with a 4 executioner. Did find the executioner chosen.
Yeah, playing a lot of Kale, and I think if I remember correctly, Numano does kind of favor the Kale playstyle.
He
Executioners here.
does. Yeah.
Yeah, is going to be actually having an assassin Kindred as well. It
Huh.
gives a little bit of bonus, right? The Diana and the Kindred are now assassins,
For
so I
sure.
can't. Or I can say that is a pretty solid addition if you are stuck with a spatula. There and ooh, another Aurelion Soul 2 for Robin Song's the bench there. We could see an Aurelion Soul 3 later, but for
That's
now,
possible.
Numano on the bubble here, still 10 HP remaining, positioning the last second.
I think the assassin kindred is a really good. It's generally what you see the assassin spat go on in this composition if someone grabs it because kindred
Yep.
obviously jumps to the back, but then she moves. She's not just a sitting duck, so a lot of times she can survive just as easily in the back lines. That said,
Oof.
if your whole team's dead, that doesn't matter. Robin Songs just wrecks him, so let's check out Robin Songs' board here. See how long he survives. Grand Vice takes a big shot down to third. So Bertosaurus, the one
Yeah,
on top with 55 HP. I'm just going to look at his board real briefly
it's
to
the
catch up with
Wukong.
that. Oh no, it's the Bonky Kong. All right, we can't say bad stuff about that anymore. Let's actually jump on board with Grand Vice instead to see if he can survive at 6 HP. It's going to be pretty tough. He did stick with the Diana. So going for a bit of re-rolling himself, a little bit out of character for Grand Vice, but
Yeah.
still good enough for at least a third. So that's going to feel pretty good.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's really good for Grand Vice to know that even though you don't really play reroll compositions that much, you can still pilot them well enough to get at least a third in a game. And third in a
Right.
tournament such as Excalibur, going to be very solid. It is going to run into Robin Song's Ghost, however, And the Aurelion Soul gonna have their eyes on Diana, and we'll take her out.
Yep, that's right. Diana just gets wrecked. Maybe the Pike? Oh,
Oh.
not quite. The Kindred? Going up against the minion. Oh my gosh. This is
Zezirot MVP.
Mortal Kombat. Oh wow. Oh, knocked out by a Zezirot minion. That feels bad. It feels real bad. Let's jump on with Bertosaurus here as he is in prime position to take this game with 55 HP remaining off the back of the Donkey Kong, but also just for Vanguard, the Lee Sin 2 with a lot of items is very helpful as well. He's got the Zillion 2 with the Duelist Spatula, which is one of the best side items you can drop on a Zillion because he's going to be casting so quickly. He's got the Azir 2. So he's really just played this strong mid game into a very strong legendary filled late game. And Divine Spat on Zillion, interesting. I suppose the thing is Zillion takes less damage with that damage reduction for Divine. He's just going to be bringing more people back to life. So I actually kind of like that.
Bert did not get the Shroud replacement in time to hit the Aurelion Soul, but unfortunate there. I'll see if it matters, however, as Bert's composition is still just so strong.
Well, the knockup from the Lee Sin does delay the Aurelion Soul a little bit. Here comes the cast now, but the Divine damage resistance prevents a lot of that from doing any work. So it looks like it will just be a pretty easy win here for Bertosaurus, unless the Xayah totally pops up, but the Donkey Kong is on her now, and everybody's got Zillion ults on them, so everyone's coming back, even if the Xayah ult does go through and just wipe the board. So Xayah, with the triple-handed justice, takes a while to drop, but Bertosaurus will claim victory here in game number 3. Doing it in style. I don't know, man. This Frodan, this Wukong build is starting to come up. It's starting to scare me a little bit. It's Return of the Donkey Kong, I think.
Yes, very much so. Bert has played it in games 1 and 3 and showed that it is not only capable of getting top 4, but also winning lobbies. And Bert is being super consistent, right? We've been seeing him not miss out on the top 4. And just shows that there's even more reroll to the reroll comps. There's belief that Dragon Soul could be low-key very good if you get the brand and Tristana online. And we saw a little bit of that today. And now we're seeing Wukong really come into the mix. So, the patch is continuing to develop, and even more one-cost carries are viable here, which is pretty interesting to see.
Yep, just when you thought people had discovered it all. What one cost cannot be a carry? We'll investigate that a little bit more when we come back. For now, if you are in the Cloud9 Twitch chat, you can type hashtag Puma, again, to have a chance to win a $100 Puma gift card. Got to be a U.S. resident, got to be at least 18 years of age, but if you are, hashtag Puma in chat for a chance at that Discord. A chance at that card, gift card, not Discord. Can you tell what app I've been using a lot lately? Anyway, while we mull that over, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, Game 4 of the Cloud9 Fates NA qualifiers. Don't go anywhere. We'll return right after this.